Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be exploring the answer to a question that I get asked every now and again, and that question is there a difference between lacquered instruments versus silver-plated instruments? Does the coating, does the finish affect the playing characteristics of the instrument? And the short answer to that is, well, yes, it can do, but if it does, it's really small. The longer answer to that instrument starts with a quick review of the fact that brass instruments are not identical. You could go to a factory, have 6 instruments lined up that are supposedly identical, made by the same factory at the same day by the same person, and there are going to be potentially noticeable differences between the way that those instruments resonate and produce their tones. And it's quite common for a person to play 3 or 4 instruments the same and have a clear preference over which one they prefer. So I did a little bit of research and I had a look at a few posts online and some few studies that have been done, and it is a known and reasonably well accepted fact that adding lacquer to an instrument can affect the playing characteristics. The effect that it has been described as being somewhere between nothing and a little bit. Okay, we're talking about a couple of percentage points of difference. We're not talking about night and day sort of differences here. Lacquer is a coating that is applied to the outside of the instrument. The result of that coating is that it can prevent the bell and the instrument from resonating as freely, sort of being a little bit like a muffle, and the experience difference is that a lacquered instrument may appear less punchy, may appear to be less bright than a silver-plated or a raw brass finish. Along with that study goes the results that there is no real definable difference between a raw brass instrument and a silver-plated instrument, or an instrument that's been plated in another metal. But there is a difference when you take lacquer and apply it to a raw brass or a silver-plated or whatever finished instrument. So it can have a potential impact. Whether or not you notice it and whether or not the differences between any 2 given examples of an instrument are due to natural variations between the instrument or the finish is something that you're not really going to get a solid answer to when you're just taking 2 instruments and comparing them against each other. So the outcome of what I would recommend is that if you have to choose between the 2, try the 2 instruments, try the 2 instruments that you have the choice of buying and see which one you prefer. There may be a difference that is attributable to the coating on the instrument, or there may just be a difference that's attributable to the variation that you get between the instruments, or there may be no discernible difference whatsoever. There is a tendency for you to get one experience with lacquered instruments. That doesn't mean it's something that you're always going to experience. To help me unravel the answer a little bit more, I have 2 very, very similar instruments. This is the Jean Paul TR-860. It is a beautiful instrument that has a lacquered brass finish. Up against that is this. This is the Jean Paul TR-870. This instrument has 2 key differences between the 860. First is that it is silver and gold plated. It's an absolutely stunningly gorgeous instrument. And the only other difference between the 2 is that it has standard water keys as opposed to the Armado style water keys that the 860 has. Other than that, these 2 instruments are pretty much identical. But as I said, because even identical instruments can have playing characteristics differences, it could be that the differences I experience in these 2 instruments may be due more to just variations that exist anyway versus the finish differences on them. Evaluating these 2 particular instruments, I personally do notice a slight difference in playing them. The silver-plated trumpet does seem to resonate a little bit more freely. It does appear to be a little bit more brighter, a little bit more punchy, a little bit more direct in the way that it sounds and feels when I play. I don't know, however, whether this is something that is going to be conveyable or portrayable at all over video, YouTube, and the rest of it. So I'm going to play a brief sample of just a slow melody, and let me know in the comments below whether you can perceive any difference between the 2. Firstly, I will play the extract on the lacquered trumpet. Let me know what you think. Could you tell the difference? What sound do you prefer? And do you think that those differences are due to the coating on the outside of the instrument? Or do you think that is more to do with the natural variation that exists between these instruments? Thank you very much for watching.